Hi there, I'm Michael Hill with Canine Chronicle TV, and today I'm here with Darcy Cantor for our Influencers series, sharing about different people in the sport and who impacted them and influenced who they are today. How are you, Darcy?
I'm great. How are you?
I am excellent, enjoying it. Friday already. This
Yeah,
week just flew by.
it did.
Amazing. Well, let's start at the very beginning. How did you first get into the sport of dogs?
Okay. Well, I am a second generation. My mother was a veterinary technician for 30 plus years. So
Wow.
that's what she was doing when I was born. And my father worked a regular, 9 to 5 job and showed dogs a little bit for some people, but mainly, for our family. We had Labradors and Pembroke Welsh Corgis, and towards the end, we had Gordon Setters. And so I just grew up around the veterinary clinic at the local dog shows. I was never allowed to miss school to go to a dog show. So we were kind of weekend warriors. But I did 4-H, both dogs and horses. We lived on 10 acres and just
Wow.
every enjoyable kid thing you could do.
Sounds like a dream, honestly.
Yeah, it was wonderful. As I got older and became a teenager, my parents got divorced, and my mom remarried my stepdad, who introduced me to Dobermans.
Mm.
And that's mainly what I showed during my junior's career. Was Dobermans, and a dear friend breeds Malamutes. And so actually when I went to Westminster as a qualified junior, I showed his Malamute because we had bred my Doberman that I was showing in juniors. So that was really,
You became a working girl.
yeah, last minute here, I'm going to show this one instead. I went on to college and worked for a few handlers through college, and worked in the veterinary clinic some, and everything like that. And then as time went on, I kind of branched out onto my own, I guess you could say.
At what point did you know that that was the direction you wanted to go? Were you always like that from day one? I want to show dogs, or was it just more of a hobby that just kind of naturally progressed?
I think, well, my parents insisted that I go to college. Whether I ended up a dog handler or not, college was where I was headed. And I always wanted to do something with animals, primarily dogs. I loved my time with horses, but I was always drawn to the dogs. And I did all kinds of, I can remember when I was a little girl, we had Labradors. We had these 2 Labradors named Eddie and Dixie, mother and son. And my dad went hunting with them. He was a duck hunter, and I could throw the bumper not very far. And these poor Labradors, bless their hearts, would go and get these bumpers for hours. And the bumper was probably maybe 4 or 5 feet from me, maybe tops. And
They're like, but this is our job today.
This is our job. So how long this kid throws this bumper. And so I kind of always wanted to do something in dogs. I did have this distant goal of being a veterinarian at some point. And after 4 years of college, the thought of doing another 4 years of college was daunting.
Same.
It was very daunting to me.
I feel you on that.
Yeah, and not something that I was really, turns out, that passionate about. I worked in a vet clinic my entire high school life and into college, and I enjoy the veterinary field. I couldn't do it. So as time went on, I think I kind of just fell into the dog handling portion of it. And, as time went on, it just kind of became this train that I couldn't get off and became addicted to. And, now we go all the time, it seems like. So.
It's your life now, whether you like it or not.
I try to balance it. I do work for Starbucks part-time, because it turns out that paying health benefits through a big corporation is much cheaper than paying them on as an individual. So I've taken a ton of things I've learned from Starbucks and kind of transferred them into dog things.
What a great application. Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's on a much larger scale than I ever planned to be, but it definitely, the customer service portion of it and the ethics and the morals behind the company have really helped kind of shape a lot of things that we do. So that
makes total sense.
Yeah.
Well, and so it's clear that your family definitely contributed to the mentoring as far as husbandry and care for the dogs, the passion for the dogs. Who was maybe the first person to kind of take you under their wing as far as like the technical handling, presenting dogs arena?
Well, I did work for Rick and Dinah Bagenstoss that are here. They're in Oregon. And I worked for them for about 5 years. And so I did learn a lot from them. But I would say as a high school student and new to Dobermans and everything like that, that probably my biggest mentor, and he's also one of my closest friends now, would be Andy Linton. And
I'm feeling that's where you're going.
He's wonderful. I can remember being, probably 14, 15 years old and sitting outside the Doberman ring and just watching him show dog, after dog, Doberman special, and watching him in the group ring. And it took me a long time to get the courage to go up and talk to him. I remember one of my first interactions with him. We were at a local dog show here, and we came around the ring. I had gone winner's bitch with a bitch that I owned, and they all stopped abruptly in front of me, and I slipped and broke my arm.
Oh my God.
He had a special at the time, and I couldn't excuse myself from the ring. It was like right at the end and everything. And I remember the judge pulled him out and put me behind him to go best of winners. And he looked at me, and I was trying to keep it together, but my arm hurt so bad. It was already swollen and black and blue in a matter of, like 2 minutes. And he looked at me and he goes, "Are you ready?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think so." And bless his heart, when we went to stop, like I just had laid the leash in my hand. I couldn't grip it. I couldn't anything. We came around and the judge pointed. He grabbed my dog from me and everything. And I just held my wrist and cried then.
You're like, out of here.
And my mom, bless her heart, was waiting at the gate to take me to the hospital because she knew it was broken. That was probably one of my first interactions with him, which was mortifying. It's funny now.
Hell of an introduction.
Yeah. But I just remember watching him and then going to the national and watching Doberman Handler after, Doberman Handler and Ransbottom White, Gwen, of course, and everything, and just soaking it in and then taking what they would do and taking it home. And bless my dog's hearts, they would practice with me in the cul-de-sac or in the driveway for hours.
Over and over.
Doing some of the things that over and over and over again. So I would say he still is probably one of my best mentors. There have been mornings recently, like in the last year and a half, that my husband and our assistant, they're like, "Where are you going?" And I was like, "I'm going for a pep talk." And they're like, "Okay." And I go to Andy's setup and I'm like, "Okay, I need a pep talk." And he, bless his heart, always gives me a pep talk and sends me on my merry way. And so I have a
support system. That's really special.
I have a very good support system and have been very lucky to have some really good mentors along the way. So he's probably my biggest. And then also my mom. My mom spent hours driving me to the dog show, practicing, watching me handle dogs, watching me handle our own dogs. There were many fights because, of course, I was that lovely teenage age. And everything. And she always says, "I can't do it, but I can watch you do it and tell you
what to do."
She is right. She, to this day, if she comes to the dog show, she is my biggest critic. I will come out of the ring and she will say to me, "What was that?" Or "What were you doing?" Or don't do that again. Or,
brutal
or,
honesty.
oh my gosh, that was amazing. Or, she's always right there being my biggest supporter and my biggest critic.
I love that. It's a multi-generational effort.
Yes, 100%.
It's just like a breeding program.
Yeah, 100%.
So now looking back on where you are now in your career, you're campaigning top rank specials, you're all over the place, working hard every weekend. If you were to give advice to somebody who's maybe in that juniors time or newer to the sport and looking to consider how to get more involved and create a career for themselves, what would be some of your recommendation points for them?
Sure. So for me, I was lucky enough to be a part of, and I still am a part of, a lot of different breeding programs. Our clients today that we have, this is third, fourth, even sometimes fifth generation dogs that I'm showing for them or that my husband's showing for them. And I have been lucky enough to be a part of a lot of different dog sports as well. Like I said, my dad was a duck hunter. And I can remember going to field training practice as a little girl. And now my husband and I breed pointers. And so I'm not going to lie, I would go every weekend and go field trialing or hunt test. In fact, I'm entered in a hunt test tomorrow with a dog. I don't really know that she's ready, but we're going to give it a go.
You're going to just have fun.
Yeah. And I've done agility and had great mentors in agility. I tried my hand at nose work and everything. So not only just being involved in conformation, but seeing what the dogs can do and what they're bred to do, I think is so important. It explains so much of their standards and how they're supposed to be bred. And it makes you judge them differently or look at them differently. I show
you might
a lot
be less forgiving of certain things when you see how it plays out. I show a lot of Newfoundlands,
and I've watched a water test and a draft test, and now I understand things about the breed that I didn't before. So for someone in juniors is just to get in there and do as many different sports with your own dog or someone else's dog, or ride along with somebody. We used to live in South Carolina, and I had a Doberman at the time, and I would go with Bob Vandiver. He lived down the street from us, and I would go with him to Schutzen training. I'd take my little Doberman and he'd take his, and off we'd go. And everything. Awesome. So it's good for the dog's overall mental status. And it, shows you other avenues of things you can do. And also,
and especially when you're already at the dog show already, like what a great use of your time.
Right. And the other thing too, is I learned so much working in a veterinary clinic. I learned how to handle dogs that didn't want to be handled, or, I learned how to be empathetic when you were frustrated with a situation, or problem solve, or work with people in really tough situations no one, sometimes wanted to be in. And it also gave you a good understanding of dog care, just basic dog care. And it's not, it's not about the 2 minutes that you spend in the ring. It's about all of the prep work that goes into it. And being prepared for those worst case scenarios and those emergencies and first aid moments. Yes, 100%. And you just learn so much about dogs, watching them in traumatic situations at the vet clinic. And then on the other hand, learning about how they act in the field. I learned so much more about my pointers and my individual dogs. Here, I thought I knew them very well. And then you turn them loose in a field full of birds. And you see them work out problems on their own, and they learn that they don't need you, versus, in the show ring, if there's a problem, they look to you to fix it or to make it better. And when they're 50, 100 yards away, spooking up birds or, on point or whatever, they have to problem solve on their own. And it's fabulous to watch them do those things on their own.
They're connecting with that, intrinsic part of their nature 100%. That gives them purpose.
Yes. So I would just, encourage people to get involved and when I started agility, I don't know what I was thinking. I thought agility was easy. It is so hard. It is, I don't know my left from my right. That's why I run and to try, our agility instructor, God bless her, because she was like, I said right. And I was like, that was right. And she was like, no, that was left.
Other right.
So, it taught me how to work with my dog and how to think on my feet. And it made me a better handler, I think.
That's such a great point. I'm so glad you shared that, because it's something that is, kind of more rare for people to have that breadth of involvement with their dogs. But what a great thing, both for, like you said, for the dogs, but then also for you, just being comfortable out of your comfort zone and learning new skills that do have application back to something like just running in left-handed circles.
Right. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Darcy. It was so great to hear your story and see those different, pieces that came together to make you who you are today. We really appreciate your time sharing with us.
No problem. Thank you so much.
It was my pleasure. Have a great weekend.
All right. You too.
All right. Bye.